So we talked briefly before about kind of suicide and the religious dogma that dictates that you were then kind of burn in hell, or
Yeah.
and obviously often the family's obviously left grieving with all that on top of the grief, but it's layered upon the grief that they're going to be suffering.
Well, can you imagine it? You've lost a child, you've lost a son, or you've lost a husband. In this lady's case, she'd lost her husband. But that man also had a mother who was brought up in a religion that said if somebody commits suicide, that's where they go. Her grieving wasn't about just losing the son, it was about where he is, as she thinks, because of that brainwashing. And I had to explain that to this woman, and I wasn't getting anywhere. Not for a million years was I tried everything, and I was like talking to a brick wall. And then I'm mentally saying to the guys, will you help me out here? So she got on the bed to have her healing session. And lo and behold, the husband turns up. And he starts talking to her. And this woman, who's absolutely elated, he starts to explain to her, he's fine, he's very, very sorry for what he did, but there is no such a place as hell. There is no location. He's fine. And he's getting on with his life over there. He was met just like anybody else that passes over a normal life. They're met. So all this rubbish about being lost and being, you know, in a place of they never see them again, utter nonsense.
So there's no purgatory.
You see, they taught all that stuff years and years ago, thousands of years ago, and people fell for it because they didn't know anything different. They were ignorant of the knowledge, you know. But nowadays, there's no excuse.
Has this brought you, through your experience, kind of immense relief that you kind of have become fearless because it's not something to be feared anymore?
It's not,
the
because
passing from one vibrational state to another.
Yes, and you're going back home. Somebody that goes over there is going back home. That's what a lot of people don't realise. That's your true home. This is where you come to learn and experience.
So this is a school,
This is our school.
where the tests and the lessons and the...
Yes, and we choose every bit of it.
So we choose each physical experience.
Everyone.
All the tests, all the
Some
lessons.
only come here for one because they're a volunteer. They're coming here to affect the planet. And they're bringing that energy, to hold the energy in a certain place of the planet. So they volunteer, but we all volunteer as well. But we're coming here, we've come here thousands of times. We're amazing spiritual beings. And we should be tapping ourselves on the back. Because of, you bring, each time you come back, you bring that energy with you, which is affecting the planet, which is raising the vibrations of the planet, which in turn raises the vibrations of the population. And that's why you're seeing all the amazing things in this life now, where people are fearless. They're standing up to governments, they're getting rid of dictators, one after the other, and they're all going. And even all those that are still in control, they're on their way out.
I mean, it's unprecedented the times we're living in now, where
It's
countries
amazing.
are going bankrupt.
It's amazing.
All the kind of
Yeah.
stuff that's been hidden is now being revealed.
Yes, and what people should focus on, where they'd like to be, and the nice planet, and the being happy and having everything, that's all coming. And when I'm explaining to people about in this lifetime, their children are going to see in this lifetime, their lifetime, the eradication of illnesses, disease, anything like that, the impossible will be possible. Those what deem certain things impossible now, it will be possible. It's only your thoughts that deem it impossible.
It's interesting because how many years have you been kind of working in the energetic field now?
About 32 years.
So, I mean, if you take yourself back to 32 years ago,
Yeah.
to where you are now,
Uh-huh.
you must have seen just quantum leaps in the vibrational field and what's happening then to where you are now.
Well, you see, back then, there wasn't tremendous amount of books, you know, and it wasn't talked about as openly as it is now. You didn't hear anybody talking about guides and out-of-body experiences and auras and energies. It just wasn't talked about, and if you did talk about it, they thought you were an absolute nutcase. Now people have to get over that fear of what everybody else thinks. I couldn't care less what anybody else thinks. That was one of the things I used to worry about. What would my neighbours think? What would the family think? I don't care anymore, because this is my journey. This is my spiritual journey. This is my life. And
I mean, to come into personal power, we have to go through the phase of your interior world has
Yes.
more authority over than what other people think about it.
yes, they're not paying your
Otherwise,
bills at the end of the day.
Every decision you make is a fear-based decision on what other people will
What
think.
other the things I've seen, people what they do with their lives, just because they don't want to hurt such a body in the family, or the shame and all of this. What a nonsense.
It's really interesting that, I mean, going back to what we're talking about when you go through the initiations, the Reiki initiations, I've found, and as you know, I worked with you for 3 years in those initiation processes, where people's lives seem to kind of disintegrate. You know, relationships broke up, jobs broke up. You know,
Not with everybody though.
No, with a lot of people.
It happened to those where it was meant to, because
so for those that were kind of
they needed a
offline,
shift. Yes.
became online.
Back online, yeah. In other words, they were totally out of balance, all the chakra system and everything. So your inner reflects your outer life. So when they would start to come back into balance inside, well then the outside would come back into balance. To be in the right job, right relationship, right...
So you have to be shifted from what was wrong to what is right.
Yeah. You know, I had one lady where her house had been up for sale for about 3 years. Nothing was moving. The relationships, the house, everything. And yet, within 6 months, everything started to align. And then she went out of one relationship but into the one. I said, you're only attracting like-minded people anyway. So those are for your spiritual growth, you know.
I think quite a lot of people are so fear-based and terrified of change.
Yeah.
But actually, once that changes in motion and you're on the right path,
Yeah.
it can only be orchestrated for your benefit.
Yes. And sometimes when you're learning stuff, as you said before, the fear of change is what holds people back.
But isn't that one of the lessons within itself, is to punch through fear?
Go with it. Go with it. And it's always amazing when you come through it. When I look back on mine and I think of all the fears that I used to have about different things and different people and different religion and this, that and the other, and it's like, get rid. And I got rid. So I'm only answerable to myself and the God within me.
And
So-
then you pass that on to the people that come.
Yes, it's about when the person, you mean pupils or the people that come for healing?
I think the people that come, well, both really.
Yeah, well, the pupils, I would always say, always give them something to think about. They're not just coming in for a healing session. They're coming in with that problem, but your job is to touch the spirit. And I don't mean preaching. They don't want that. I mean explaining. Just explaining a few things and give them something to think about. And you're sowing a seed there, in here. And then, next of all, before you know it...
And I think it's about trying to shift into a positive attitude, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
And giving them thinking about how it could be.
Yes. Especially depending on what they've come in with. Say, for example, the lady that comes in that's trying to get pregnant, she's been trying for years. And I get them to think the opposite. I get them to focus on where they want to be and not how it is. Can't get pregnant. I'll have a period next month. All this negative, instead of, where's the baby going to go? Spare room. What's in the spare room? The dogs. Oh, that's a great message that you're sending out to the universe. Shift the dogs out of the spare bedroom. Clear it up. Get it ready as though it's going to happen. As though it's already happened. See yourself with the pram. See yourself with the baby. And then I see myself in a photograph with you. You know, that's the way I focus on. I see that person pregnant. I see that person and the end result. That's what I focus on. The end result.